Yeah, great. I mean, you've done so much work with the youth. What's their views been on this? Are they willing to change, or do they actually think that, there's nothing that they can do and it's something that really doesn't affect them?
Well, my experience is probably the youth are more willing than any generation to change because they're just naturally more flexible and adaptable and young, but also because we're starting to look at it in more fashionable ways, in more ways that suit our lifestyle.
Yeah, but having said, I mean, you touched on lifestyle, but isn't it actually the youth that are using the most energy if you've got the amount of gadgets and everything that we use in today's modern world? Surely it's the youth that need to change the most, wouldn't you say?
I think so, but as I say, I think the youth are more willing to change than, say, a generation older than us, or even older than that, who are kind of dependent upon cars and, very polluting homes, that use up lots of water and gas and electricity. So I think, whilst we're by no means a perfect generation, we are certainly we're certainly finding that the message is getting out there, and that when it does get out there, youth are really taking this on board as an exciting opportunity rather than something that means sacrifice.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. I just want to move to the audience now as well. We've got young people here as well. What do you think about what we've just been discussing here? We've talked about the key terms and whether young people actually take this responsibility seriously. So you, as a group of young people, what are your views on it? Costa, we could start with you.
Firstly, regarding the climate change and the debate whether it's man-made or a natural phenomena, I think, from what I understand, we're not all experts on climate change, but there seems to be a consensus now in the scientific community that climate change is man-made. Now the issue is, and the way we're going at the moment, we're not. If we continue in this route, the consequences are going to be dire.
Right.
So the question is, how are we going to deal with this, and are we willing to change our lifestyles to deal with it? Because we can't go on as we are.
So as you as a young person, do you really think that this is your responsibility, because it's going to be you that inherit this earth, it's going to be your future generations? Do you take that on board yourself?
Well, of course, it should be our responsibility. We acknowledge that that what we do now is going to affect future generations. That's inevitable. But what do we do? It's such a huge problem. Sometimes you say, what can we do about it? You're almost overwhelmed. Okay. So I think this is something we need to debate.
Let's get one more view as well. Khaled, have you got a point? What's your view, just on a general scale, looking at global warming, looking at the issues? How do you think people are actually reacting to it today?
I think we need to change. That's something that's apparent to everyone, whether that's through individual means, or whether that's through the government, or whether that's through the global community, as it were. We have to change. How we go about that is something that we need to discuss, something that we need to sit down and understand what the main objectives are. Are we going to try and reduce global warming? How are we going to do that? Can we recycle? Will that help? What initiatives can we use to reduce global warming, to reduce climate change?
Yep. Okay. Well, that's something that we like to put forward to the panel as well. We've discussed there is a problem, but first of all, who's causing the problem at the moment? Khalil, who's the main polluters to CO2, can we say, at the moment?
I mean that's a very interesting question, because it's fairly easy actually to categorize different nations and different types of people and say, well, China is the biggest polluter, or the US is the biggest polluter, and they need to change. But actually, it's a lot more complicated than that. If I just give you a few figures, total global emissions of CO2 by the United Nations, these are figures from the United Nations in 2006, were about 28.5 billion tons of CO2 per year. Okay. Of that, China emits about 7.1 billion tons. America, 6.1 billion tons, forgive me, and US, about 5.7 billion tons. Just by comparison, here in Britain, we have about 500 million tons, so you can see the difference. However, the different levels of population in each of those countries make a significant difference to those figures, because whilst China emits more CO2 than the US, in fact, it only emits about 4.6 tons per capita, as compared to the US, which is about 18.6 tons. So in order to get to a global average, the US, or per capita, they need to reduce their emissions by roughly 78%, whereas China needs to reduce its emissions by just under 5%. Okay. So
sorry to just interrupt, but we've seen China's emerging economy, and a lot of their emissions are due to actually increasing demand, you know, for industry, for electronics and everything, which actually come from Western countries.
Indeed they do. But I think the key point in terms of those statistics is that it's easy to categorize China and India and say, well, actually they're the biggest polluters and they need to change. But in fact, when you look at the figures in a little bit more detail, per capita they are emitting a lot less CO2 emissions than a lot of the industrial nations. And of course, you pick on exactly the right point when you talk about industry and about usage. But I've just come back from China. And this year they're going to be implementing the first carbon and capture storage coal-fired plant, which is a clean energy plant, effectively, much before everybody else.
Okay.
So the debate needs to be looked at holistically. We need to look at it together and identify actually not what countries do, but as the audience has so rightly pointed out, what we can do as individuals, because it's individuals that cause CO2 emissions, not countries as such. And I think we all need to work together to achieve that purpose.
Yeah, Tom, that's basically what Sustainable Merton was based upon, isn't it? The fact that it's local people making a change.
It is entirely what we do, and I'm really pleased to sort of hear Khalil's comment. I thought your analysis was perfect, because quite honestly we're now in a position where we have a choice. We can either act now or we can become victims of it in 2050. So we have that choice. We are intelligent beings and we know we've got that choice. The question is, what do we do with that choice? Okay, and it's quite interesting having this discussion in your mosque today, because your whole community is based on that very concept of community. And I personally believe, and have believed for some time, that as a human race, we have to adopt communalism. We have to fight for each other rather than fight each other if we're going to solve this problem. And the most exciting thing about climate change for me is the opportunity it gives human beings to reassess our lives and decide whether or not we're in this for each other or whether we're in it just for ourselves. And the minute you join a group of people who care about the same things as you, as I'm lucky enough to do, you discover that not only is there a sense of well-being about being part of the solution, but it's actually fun. There is a lot of fun working with good people on a good thing. And personally, I find it a very exciting journey and a journey well worth making.
Yeah. Okay. Renewable energy, that's a huge debate at the moment. Is renewable energy something that businesses take seriously at the moment, do you think?
I'd say not. There are small proportions of businesses who take the matter very seriously. There's an initiative which has just come around, which is a CRC Energy Efficiency Scheme, which is a carbon reduction commitment. Now that's put emphasis on businesses to reduce the carbon footprint, so reduce energy consumption there. But that's only for the top consuming businesses, which are roughly above 6,000 megawatts.
6,000 megawatt hours.
Yeah, megawatt hours. Those industries with below that consumption don't have to participate in the scheme.
Right.
So there's not a carrot or stick approach for the smaller businesses. The larger ones, there's a stick approach now. But it needs to be adopted more. But I think it's a lack of education. Okay. Businesses don't know how to make this work and make it practical.
Right.
We see a lot of media coverage on switching off light bulbs, but if you're a manufacturing plant producing metal sheets, that's not relevant to you. If you're a factory who's got a mill and you use a lot of textiles, importing those textiles from abroad, using a lot of water, that message is not relevant to you. So I think we need to make it more relevant to businesses and more relevant to residents.
So you're saying the government's not really doing enough to actually enforce this and educate people about?
There's been a huge leap.
Yeah.
I mean, from where we were a few years ago, we didn't have these initiatives, we didn't have the taxes and levies, so there's a big step. But there needs to be more to make it more relevant to sectors.
There's two ways of tackling it, really. I think there's one way which is actually encouraging people to be more energy efficient, and then the other side is that they actually start taxing them and charging them, even down to individual level. If people aren't recycling enough, for example, in the local community. I mean, Tom, do you think they should be fined for that? Should be there's some charges? How do you actually get them to maybe recycle more?
I've got a lot of sympathy with the average citizen, because I think you have been badly led. You haven't been led at all. There's no leadership on climate change. It's only just now we're creating tariffs, we're creating this impetus. This is panicking now. We should have been doing this 20, 30, 40 years ago. So my stance is this: if you take waste as a great example,
Yeah.
my desire for my community is to have what's called a zero waste strategy, which means we never put anything to landfill. Now that might sound idealistic, but it isn't at all. It's how the rest of the world functioned for thousands of years until modern man decided to create waste. So if you're going to do that, if you go out and buy a packet of crisps, you buy it in a packet that can't easily be recycled. That is not your fault. You didn't design the packet. You merely are the customer. What we need is government saying to the manufacturer, if you produce packaging that can't be recycled, it's going to cost you £100 a tonne tax. If you produce it in a material that can be easily recycled, there's no levy on you.
Right.
This is the kind of encouragement we need as citizens before we can actually play our part. So no, I wouldn't pick on the citizens yet. I mean, that time may come, but I would give the citizen every chance to do the right thing first.
Okay, fantastic. But I mean, there's a great initiative. I just want to quickly turn to the audience. You know, we've talked about these initiatives and we said the power is in your hands. Do you feel empowered that you can actually go out and make a change? And when it comes to choices, do you take these things into account when you're buying certain clothes? Maybe there's a peer pressure attached with you want the best trainers, even if they have been, you know, made in conditions which are not favourable. So let's get some points. Ibrahim at the front here.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Tom was saying, that you feel that, okay, what I want to do, I'd like to recycle with what I use. But it almost feels that without the leadership, you kind of almost feel that it's not making the right impact that it could do. If you have these recycling boxes, and that is the kind of thing that, okay, if I see this problem, then I want to do my bit, but without the right leadership and without, say, councils doing completely different things with each other, it doesn't seem like they're all pulling in the right direction.
Okay.